All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode here on the Infinite Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about what we think Canada's hockey team will look like at the 2026 Winter Olympics. Of course, this is coming off of the heels of the very well acclaimed Four Nations face off, in which Canada won, defeating the United States in the finals. And this is a quick look at the team from that tournament. So, Will, just to recap the Four Nations face-off roster, Sam Reinhart, Connor McDavid, and Mitch Marner was the first line for the majority of the tournament. Of course, there was some line shuffling throughout. Mark Stone, Sidney Crosby, and Nathan MacKinnon on the second line. Seth Jarvis, Braden Point, Brad Marchand on the the third line. Brandon Hagel, Anthony Cirelli, and Sam Bennett on the fourth line. And Travis Konechny filled in throughout. Devon Toews and Cale Makar was the first pair. Shea Theodore and Drew Doughty was the second pair. Josh Morrissey and Colton Parayko being the third pair. And then Travis Sanheim and Thomas Harley filled throughout. Of course, in net, Jordan Binnington was the guy in net the whole way. Aiden Hill and Sam Montembeault were both on the bench. And Will, now we're going to talk about your team, some of the players that
Okay.
you had making this team. So if you can see there, the players all highlighted in white were players who are returning. If Will's roster is correct, you have Jordan Binnington and Logan Thompson and Mackenzie Blackwood in it. Your top two lines, all returning players. You've got Mark Scheifele, Wyatt Johnson, Nick Suzuki, Matt Duchene, new forwards. Evan Bouchard, Mackenzie Weegar, Aaron Ekblad, new defense. Will, do you want to explain your justification for some of these roster spots here?
Yeah, for sure. I'll start off in goal. I think Jordan Binnington he showed on the big stage that he deserves a shot to
Mhm.
return. Logan Thompson, I mean, you and I have talked to him at great lengths on the pod. He's having a phenomenal year for Washington. Um, as of right now, I think he would probably actually usurp Binnington for the starter's position at the Olympics.
It's
Um,
possible, yeah,
and I threw Mackenzie Blackwood in there. He's having a really good year, really nice year for Colorado. And I think Thompson and Blackwood are an improvement as of right now over Montembeault and Aiden Hill. Plus, we've seen Blackwood play at the World Junior level, and when he's played in front of like a solid team in front of him, he can be quite a good goalie.
for sure.
Over on defense, I did not bring back Drew Doughty. Mostly I try to keep this team kind of more on the younger side.
Mm,
Uh, which is why I kind of opted for Evan Bouchard.
right.
Good puck mover. They're gonna be playing on the bigger ice over in Italy.
That's a great point.
So they're gonna need to have those outlet passes. You need those guys who could skate, which is why like Taves and Carr, no brainer.
Yeah.
Morrissey Theodore, no brainer. I also brought Mackenzie Weegar and Aaron Ekblad. And actually, you could probably flip those two back and forth. It really doesn't matter how they slot in.
Right.
I brought them in for the grit factor, shut down kind of guys who can move up and down the lineup pretty easily.
Right.
Over on the forwards, I moved Hagel up. He played fourth line at the Four Nations, but I mean he did move to the lineup as the tournament went on. I think he's earned a shot to play next to the two best players on the planet, in McDavid and McKinnon. That second line, I like the veteran leadership and the scoring ability with Marner playing with Point and Crosby. And then I brought in Mike Scheifele. I think Scheifele actually missed this tournament due to injury. Because I think he was invited, was he not? At
I
the
don't
Four
believe he
Nations?
was. I thought he
He
was
wasn't?
snubbed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason he just didn't miss it or didn't or he missed it for injury purposes. Over on the fourth line, I wanted to go kind of responsible defensive zone PK type guys, which is why I put Mark Stone with Nick Suzuki. Both first line players of their respective teams both take those tough assignments, and they're used to that type of workload. And putting them with a young guy like Wyatt Johnson, who just signed a big extension with Dallas, and he's having
Yeah.
himself a really nice year. And then for the 13th, 14th forward, I think Konechny. Honestly, I was really swapping back and forth between Konechny and Johnson. Um, I think I like Johnson's scoring ability a little more.
Mm,
And then I brought in Matt Duchene. Again, he's kind of rebounded after actually had a pretty good year last year too, but he's again having a nice solid year. And also brought him in just as a pivot center. In
mm.
case something happens to Suzuki, Scheifele, whatever. This is a guy who still comes in at 55% face offs, still responsible, can still score. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where my thought was. I want to go a little more younger, a little more speed
Yeah.
with a big ice in mind.
No, I 100% agree with you there. I think that's going to be a big factor in the decision making for this team. I got to ask, Will, who is your last cut for your forwards, defense, and your goaltending?
Um, Goaltending, it was Montembeau. And that might be because my Habs bias, but at the same time, this is a guy who last year, just last year, on a really bad Montreal Canadiens team, was first. I think he was first in the league in goals saved above average.
Oh wow.
He was first or second, I believe. Had to fact check that. But
Okay.
he was definitely up there amongst the starters. So he was kind of my last cut. I went with more of the guys who have been more productive with better teams in front of them recently.
Right.
On defense, I don't really didn't really have anyone in particular who was a last cut. Like Drew Doughty was kind of a wish wash. Just his age kind of played a factor against him in my for me.
Yeah.
Uh, he'll be 37 when this tournament rolls around. Uh, so and he's only played I don't think he's played 20 games yet this year.
No. You're right.
And the games I have watched of him this year, he's not necessarily as fleet as foot as he used to be. And over on the forwards, who did I have? I actually deleted all my backups there, but I think I had
Did you have
oh
Celebrini or Bedard on this team at any point, Will?
no, Bedard. I didn't even consider Bedard. More
Interesting.
so, more so. I don't think he's defensively ready.
Right.
Um, and honestly, Celebrini actually, ooh, he might make a case he could probably be on this team for his two-way play.
Right.
But again, he inexperience might be a factor against him there. But yeah, no, forward wise, I think I had Bennett up there too, but I kind of pushed him back a little bit. But there's no real standouts who I was like blatantly left off.
All right.
Okay, let's see
Well,
your team.
very similar. There's only three areas that we disagree, but I'll go through my lines as well and my justification. So in net, I also have Bennington, Thompson, and Blackwood. Probably in that order. I mean, depending on how next season starts or how far Washington goes in the playoffs, I think Thompson could usurp Bennington, as you said. On defense, I have Drew Doughty in there over Aaron Ekblad, actually. I just think Doughty actually looked very impressive to me at the Four Nations. He was Canada's second best defenseman, running the second power play um, at certain times. This is a guy who brings great veteran leadership, two-time Stanley Cup champion. It's a guy who's won an Olympic gold medal, the Four Nations. It's a guy who's literally done everything in the league. First ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. A guy who loves to wear the leaf. Um, Two-way guy, and I mean, you're going to need someone who can keep the Kachucks out of the crease. And I think Drew Doughty would do that happily. And then the top pair, I have Devontae's, Cale Makar. That's a no-brainer. Josh Morrissey and Drew Doughty, I can see that being a good shutdown line. I think Josh Morrissey is actually quite an underrated defensive defenseman. Uh, Very prolific offensive player as well, but one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. Shea Theodore, Mackenzie Weegar, just another good two-way defenseman that can chip in offense here. And I have Evan Bouchard actually as my seventh defenseman. You mentioned the larger ice, being good playmakers going up the ice. That is Evan Bouchard, but he is a liability defensively. But I think it's a guy who you would love to have running your second power play. And then as far as the forwards, I have Scheifele, McDavid, and Marner. Mark Scheifele is very, very underrated this season. He's second in the league in goals as of the recording of this video, behind Leon Draisaitl, and somehow did not make this team. Granted, he's shooting at a very high clip. He's shooting like 23% this year. But I think if you pair him with McDavid and Marner, with the speed of those guys on the Olympic ice and their vision, I think Scheifele's going to fill the net with pucks. The second line, very good defensively, but also you got the speed of McKinnon and the playmaking of Crosby and the goal scoring of Sam Reinhart. The third line, sort of another two-way line. I have Brandon Hagel, Braden Point, and Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman, another good two-way guy. You kind of need net front presence on the power play. Once again, sort of looking like the Kachucks. And it's a guy who can play with McDavid if there's some chemistry issues on the top line. The fourth line, great shutdown line. You got Brad Marchand, Nick Suzuki, and Mark Stone. And then once again, due to the open ice, you need some fast skaters. So I have Seth Jarvis and Wyatt Johnson, a couple young guys bringing in the youth that can really, really skate in that larger Olympic ice. So, Will, we agree on pretty much every player here. So we have, in terms of forwards, McDavid, Crosby, Scheifele, Marner, Stone, Marchand, Reinhart, Point, Hagel, Wyatt Johnson, Nick Suzuki, and Nate McKinnon. A lot of people don't have Brad Marchand on this team. I think people are looking at his age and his sort of down year this year and see that as a bit alarming, but he's still a great two-way forward, can kill penalties and be a bit of a pest. Um, as far as defensemen, we have the exact same, aside from me having Drew Doughty over Aaron Ekblad. And yeah, as far as other defensemen, I considered Travis Sanheim. He's a guy who can play both the left and the right. Thomas Harley had a really good tournament, I thought, at the Four Nations, stepping in for some injuries. And Chris Tanev. Um, Will, do you want to go Ekblad? Do you want to go Doughty? Has anything I said
Uh,
changed your mind, or any other players here?
well, there was actually one I was thinking of. He doesn't quite make it for me at the moment, but I mean, a lot can change in a year's time. But that's Owen Power.
Interesting.
Big, tough, like defenseman. Like he's not really known to be that big tough. Like he's a big guy, big body
Right.
defenseman. Um, he's kind of a guy that he's kind of my dark horse. That I think he's having a like Buffalo's having a tumultuous season right now. So like anything like that's there currently in Buffalo is kind of like viewed very poorly at the moment. But
Right.
he's a guy who could very easily like he's got the pedigree, he's got the draft pedigree, the and he's been very solid through his career. But he's a guy who could very much jump up this list.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's
for
point every other
me,
game right now. And
yeah, like
you're right,
he's
6'6".
having a quietly solid season.
Yeah.
The thing the thing that really makes me nervous about Doughty is that yes, he did look very good at the Four Nations, but he also barely played going into that tournament on the year. So he was
Yeah.
the freshest player in the entire tournament. Uh, I worry about him and his body breaking down going because like by the time the Olympics roll around, it'll be February 2026.
Mhm.
He'll have played roughly 60 games, 50 to 60 games. Like is he going to be up to the task physically by that point? I mean, actually, honestly, the same can be said about Ekblad. To be perfectly honest, like he
Yeah.
does have a lot of injury history as well. Um,
He's
honestly,
also a guy, he's gonna be a pending UFA at the end of the year.
yeah,
His career's kind of up in the air. I mean, there could be a lot that goes wrong for Aaron Ekblad in the next few months, if we're being completely honest. Like, we haven't seen what he is like outside of a pulmonary system. Another guy, Will, that I think might get the nod here just based on versatility, and that's Travis Sanheim. This guy who played both the left and the right. Very solid two-way play. I mean, Thomas Harley, a young guy, basically got a tryout for this team at the Four Nations, looked really good. But you make a compelling case for power. I mean, 6'6", he's a pretty good skater for his size, can move the puck. He's a guy that can get physical when, like, if he needs to. I'm okay putting power on this team if you want to
uh,
compromise here.
I think as of right now, I would say I would probably put Harley in. If I'm being
Okay.
honest, I think he is the guy that there's a lot of question marks surrounding Ekblad and Doughty. It's just their availability. Will they be available come that time?
Right.
Um, if they are, then I'm either one of those two for sure. But I think safely, just assuming that maybe like depending on how their play breaks down, I we gotta go Harley. But Owen Power is a guy who very easily at the start of next year could make a compelling case to be up there.
All right. So we have for defense Evan Bouchard, Cale Makar, Josh Morrissey, Shea Theodore, Devin Tays, Mackenzie Weegar, and we'll add Thomas Harley to that. For forward options, you had Duchesne and Konechny in. I had Seth Jarvis and Zach Hyman. I mentioned Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini. I'll definitely give you Matt Duchesne. I think Matt Duchesne makes his team. Like you said, 55% face off. He's the type of guy you want as your fifth forward. Could still skate. I mean, he was one of the fastest skaters on that Sochi team. Still a point per game player.
Yeah,
I like Matt Duchesne there, but if I'm giving you Matt Duchesne, I'd really like Zach Hyman on this team. Actually, good two-way guy. He has a lot of chemistry with a lot of the other players. I
not
don't think he's having. I don't think this year is. an overall reflection of him. I think he's somewhere in between what he's been the last 2 years. Um, yeah,
For me, with my only thing with Hyman is like he's coming off a very very big season last year, and the follow up has been pretty disappointing. I like your suggestion of Celebrini,
interesting.
because even for an 18-year-old, he is and playing on a pretty bad Sharks team. He's a very defensively responsible and sound forward and centerman, and that's a very rare commodity for an 18-year-old rookie.
Yeah,
He's like, I think it'd be Bedard. I don't think he's
I
there
agree.
defensively skill wise. I think he'd be a huge liability.
Yep.
Um, I,
Celebrini right now, 48.2 faceoff percentage, which for a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, that's pretty impressive. That's going
that's
to go
a
up next year.
that's incredible for an 18-year-old. This is a guy who probably wouldn't like. He's going up against guys like Duchesne on a regular basis. Who these guys are veterans who know how to win puck battles in the faceoffs. And Celebrini's
He's going
holding
up
his
against
own.
the top players centers. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like if you, I like Konechny, but I mean, I also like Seth Jarvis, a right hand streaking right winger. I mean, I don't think Hyman, if his play is this year, he doesn't have a role in this team, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, no, I like that pick. I mean, Celebrini on the open ice, he's a guy who could, maybe even play with a guy like McKinnon and they could just fly down the ice together. I really like that pick. Jarvis, I think if you're going to go with two other forwards, you probably want guys who can play center. And Jarvis, he's more of a right winger, like you
Yeah,
said. So I really like Celebrini and Duchesne there. Um, so yeah, for our final roster, I just put in all the guys that we already agreed on there. So I put Shifley, McDavid, and Marner there. Reinhart, Crosby, McKinnon, Hagel, Point, Wyatt Johnson, Marchand, Suzuki, and Stone. Just kind of combining our list that we already had.
yeah.
So then we'll add Matt Duchesne and Macklin Celebrini there. Jordan Binnington, Logan Thompson, Mackenzie Blackwood, and net. Taze, McCarr, Morrissey, Bouchard, Theodore, Uyghur, and we'll add Thomas Harley there. Will, is there anything else you want to add to this team here? Or?
Honestly, this is a team that it's balanced. It's really balanced.
Yeah.
The only thing that actually, this kind of going back, you said a player that I just thought of him now. A guy who I would love to try and make a room for, but I don't think I don't think he can. But that's a Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
Would be a guy if I was to just kind of shoehorn a player in here, it'd be him mostly to be that physical net front presence, and a guy who could combat the Chucks a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, I don't even know where you'd really put him. I think like maybe Wyatt Johnson's spot.
Yeah. I mean, Wyatt Johnson's having an incredible year.
He is, and I want to reward that. But you also like the only thing that I think this team's lacking is grit.
Yeah. I mean, you still have Brad Marchand. You have Mark Stone who can get physical when he needs. I mean, you got Crosby who's willing to do whatever it takes. You got Uyghur. I mean, I think another thing to consider too is the open ice. I don't think this tournament's going to be as physical as the Four Nations. I could be completely wrong in that regard, but I'd be
I mean,
willing to potentially swap out Wyatt Johnson or Duchesne for Tom Wilson.
that's yeah, I think that's where I would be too. But that's just a thought. Just kind of, I mean, we didn't expect the Four Nations to be as physical as it was, and look what
Yeah,
happened there. So I mean,
I do think there will be enough spots to put Tom Wilson on this team. I think you're allowed 25 players. I'm going to double check that.
well, it's been a while since they've allowed NHL players, so
Yeah, but either way, I think this is a pretty good team. We're definitely going to have to do the Americans next.
100%,
Um,
yeah.
we'll do, Sweden, Finland, the big teams, and yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed for that. Yeah, you're allowed to have 14 forwards and 8 defensemen and 3 goalies. At least that's what NHL.com has.
Okay,
So
so
could even sub out one of the defensemen for
or
another
we could
quarter.
just say we could bring in Doughty and Harley for the defense. Get that veteran leadership in there that you want it.
Yeah, and then have Celebrini and Duchesne as the 13th and 14th forward.
That I like it. A good mix of youth and veterans.
I like it. So there you go, guys. That's our Team Canada predictions for the 2026 Olympics. If you like this, make sure to hit subscribe and watch the American video we'll have coming up soon.
Okay.